The League of Losers, Volume 1, created by Ronan O'Kane and narrated by Shaka Sickles. Our story begins in a city not unlike any other, New Silverdale City. But in this incredible metropolis, trouble is brewing. The city is up in flames, and her citizens are in a panic. The villainous Dr. Megaton rises and announces that this is the beginning of a new era, an era devoted to him. Dr. Megaton begins to raise cars and debris, terrifying and petrifying his new subjects. A group of civilians realize that their lives are about to come to an end as a massive piece of the place they once called home falls towards them. A mother grabs hold of her son as his balloon floats away from his grasp. Megaton, proud of his achievement, gloats that no one can oppose him when, out of nowhere, Vasilius, the greatest hero who has ever lived, rushes towards the menace, claiming that the doctor's appointments have been cancelled. Vasilius clobbers the villain out of the sky, shattering his helmet and his terrifying appearance. The child holds out his hand as someone hands him back his balloon. Demistar floats above the child and his mother, telling them that it's time they got out of there. Smiling, the child agrees. Vasilius praises his friend, and Megaton uses the distraction to run. But his freedom is short-lived, as he peers at the man stood in front of him with fear in his eyes. Before him stands Vasilius, Obsidian, Demistar, Mr. Mercury, Marine Man, and Glow.
"It's the whole damn super society,"
he says with a trembling stutter in his words. As the once menacing individual cradles his aching head, he knows now that he shouldn't have messed with this city. As Mr. Mercury and Marine Man escort Megaton to the police, Mercury jokes, "The bad guys never seem to learn." Vasilius stands among Obsidian and Demistar. He looks toward us and claims, "The Super Society will always be here to protect the city and its citizens." As Vasilius promises, we see that this was a commercial broadcast to the citizens of Silverdale. As a man watches the broadcast, he states his disbelief.
"Yeah, right, jackass."
The man, John, then hears somebody calling out to stop a thief. As the thief races past John, he holds out his massive arm and grabs the young delinquent. John holds the thief by the hood as a woman runs towards him, thanking him for his efforts and claims that she doesn't know what she would do without the Super Society. But John bluntly lets her know, "I'm not a part of the society, but you're welcome," and hands her back her handbag. As John drags the thief away, the woman realizes that her cash is gone. John later questions the young man, seeming to know who he is. He tells Tommy that if he ever needed extra cash, that he would happily help him out. He doesn't want him to get caught by those society psychos. Tommy promises John that it won't happen again, and John accepts the claim. But he tells Tommy, "If I catch you out here again, I'll drop you off at the Silver Gate myself. And trust me, you really don't want to end up there." John enters his office apartment with a scowl. He holds up the cash he took from the woman's handbag and claims, "Even a hero needs to eat." Meanwhile, something is happening at Silvergate Penitentiary. A man whose head is on fire pushes past the guards through a wall of smoke. Smirking, he shouts to his ally Todd that he could really use some help with these guards. As Todd claims he's already busy himself, he blasts the guards, holding the burning man back, allowing him to jump past them and startling the two guards at the end of the hallway. The two men run for their lives past a cell block as Todd's shot in the leg by a guard. The burning man decides that it's every man for himself and sarcastically apologizes to his partner in crime. Todd calls out, "Screw you, Sam! I never should have trusted you!" Sam reaches the exit of the prison and realizes that he's going to have to make a leap of faith right into the rocky depths below. But there's no time for hesitation as the guards catch up. Sam leaps over the barrier and dives straight into the river, escaping the ensuing guards. As the Silvergate Police Department surround the First National Bank, gunmen rally up their hostages. One gunman hears something from behind him, but the leader ensures him that it's probably nothing. But like a bolt of lightning, a young woman clad in red tells the gunman that they picked the wrong day to rob a bank. Those guns won't be an issue for her. She jumps from gunman to gunman, crushing the opposing forces like insects. But one gunman thinks he's got the drop on her. As he pulls the trigger, the young woman vanishes before his eyes, and he is shocked to hear her voice coming from behind him. The young woman bashes the gunman with an upwards punch and is met with applause by the hostages. Mr. Mercury appears beside her and tells her that she really did a number on those guys, but he criticizes her technique before telling her that Vasilius wants to meet her. The young woman barks at Mercury, telling him that this was supposed to be her first mission alone, before realizing that she had just been invited to meet the greatest hero who has ever lived. Mercury explains that there will be a meeting tomorrow where she will meet the whole society. In the depths of a Golden Tower laboratory, two scientists speak of a subject that has caused many issues for them. One scientist explains that this is not a lab rat, this is just a girl. Someday they will go too far and they will regret it. The male scientist explains that this is no ordinary girl. The information that they could find through these experiments will make them the ultimate powerhouse in the world. He would even go so far as to say that this is not a girl at all. It is a monster. Elsewhere in the city, Tommy is running from something or someone when suddenly he is shot with a dart of some kind, knocking him unconscious and allowing his pursuers to catch up with him. The next day, John is awakened by a loud banging at his door. When he answers it, he discovers Tommy's older sister telling him that Tommy is missing. While Tommy's sister asks for John's help, Sam finds himself at an old fire station. Coincidentally, that is where Tommy spent most of his free time. John decides to go have a look, as Sam spots some old firefighter uniforms that would make a good outfit change for him, as they are fireproof, just like his prison outfit. As John makes his way through the station, he spots Sam and clocks him as a suspicious character. He immediately thinks Sam has something to do with Tommy's disappearance. Sam's protests fall on deaf ears, and John knocks him to the floor with a right hook. Sam exclaims that he knows John. He's that superhero Man-Man. Meanwhile, the young woman and her mentor, Mr. Mercury, make their way through the Super Society's base of operations, the Golden Tower. The woman can't believe that she is here, pointing out all the trophies and explaining their individual histories. Mercury shows her to a large door and tells her that they shouldn't keep the society waiting. When they enter the room, the young woman is astonished to see all of her personal heroes. Mercury exclaims with a smile on his face that she is welcomed into the Hall of Heroes. Vasilius is pleased to finally meet Mercury's young protege, Momentum. He walks toward her and explains that he was impressed with Momentum's earlier exploits at the bank. But the meeting is cut short when Obsidian asks for a private talk with Vasilius. It is apparently a family matter. Vasilius agrees. Momentum and the society members leave the two men alone. Back with Sam and John, the two have gotten into a vicious brawl, John interrogating Sam about Tommy and Sam denying all accusations. With a swift hit to the face, Sam makes a run for it, leaving John to wonder who this guy is exactly. Obsidian tells Vasilius that they need to speak about someone called Abby, but Vasilius denies it. Obsidian pleads with Vasilius that he must see her, but again Vasilius denies this. Obsidian's rage breaks free and he begins to scream at the man, telling him that he will no longer stand idly by as his daughter is experimented on. Vasilius smirks and speaks with a calm, relaxed tone. He tells Obsidian that he doesn't appreciate threats, but will look past them because they are friends. He belittles Obsidian by telling him that he is just stressed and needs some rest. Obsidian scowls and exclaims that this has gone too far. If he lets her go, he will never hear from them again. But Vasilius explains that this would be bad for publicity, and tells Obsidian to go home and let this be the end of this matter. Obsidian forfeits, but explains that this is far from over, and he will regret it. Still smirking, Vasilius sarcastically remarks that he is sure he will. Sam crashes through the window of the fire station and breaks out into a sprint. John follows closely after him, telling him that he will go easy on him. The two men leap across the rooftops of the city as Sam keeps his distance from the behemoth of a man. Back in the laboratory, the so-called monster floats in a vat of liquid. The liquid begins to lower, awakening the girl. She holds her hand up to the glass, and with a thrust of her arms, the glass around her shatters. She turns to see some clothes folded on a desk behind her. As the girl turns a corner, she comes across two guards speaking about her. One of them believes her to be a demon, the other thinks she's an alien. But they have no idea what she truly is. She steps out to meet them. They hold up their weapons towards her. Later, Glow, Vasilius' right-hand man on the society, rushes to meet him, calling out that the girl has escaped. Vasilius asks with little expression in his voice, "Where is Obsidian?" Glow explains that he is off base and they can't get a hold of him. Vasilius begrudgingly walks toward Glow. Later, Vasilius finds himself in a hallway filled with the bodies of the guards he had once employed. "It makes me sick," he says, with disgust in his voice. One of the guards escorting him agrees with him that the loss of life is awful. But Vasilius claims that that's not what he meant, and asks the guard if there are any updates on Obsidian. The guard explains that Mr. Mercury is searching the city, and then asks what Vasilius meant. Vasilius explains that it makes him sick that not one of these men could put a single bullet in a little girl. John stampedes towards Sam and smashes him across the face with a massive fist. John grabs Sam and pushes him up against a wall. He tells Sam that it is time that they had a little chat. As the girl runs across the rooftops hiding from her captors, she spots John and Sam arguing in an alleyway. But Glow appears behind her, telling her that she has had her fun and it is time to come home. The girl glares at him before leaping into the alley below. As John accepts that Sam had nothing to do with Tommy's disappearance, the girl lands in front of them. As the two look on in confusion, the girl begins to run and hide. As Sam and John try to work out what just happened, Glow floats down to greet them, asking them if they had seen the girl. As Sam begins to tell Glow what just happened, John stops him, telling Glow that they didn't see anything. As Glow grows impatient, he tells the two men that this is a matter of national security. John decides to have some fun with the hero and explains, "If this is a matter of national security, then I suggest that you call the cops." As Glow flies away, the girl emerges from her hiding place. John decides to ask her what that was all about. But when the girl ignores his question and begins to walk away, John stops her. The girl turns and releases a burst of energy, sending John flying. Sam helps John up and introduces himself as the girl makes a run for it. John suggests that they have to go after her, which Sam is not pleased about, but John explains that if he doesn't help him, he will break Sam's legs. Sam asks how that is fair, and John tells him that it's not really, but that's just life, and introduces himself, explaining that it's nice to meet him. Back at the Golden Tower, Momentum is taking a shower. When she gets out, she hears some odd noises. She decides to investigate and finds that Mercury is injecting something. She barks at him, saying that he can't be serious. What is he doing taking drugs? But Mercury quickly tells her that it's not what she thinks. She decides to let Vasilius know about this and storms off, as Mercury shouts to her that they aren't all as powerful as him and some of them need a little bit of a boost. Obsidian stands alone at Bishop's Quarry. As he hears someone, believing it to be his daughter, he is pleased she remembered that he said if they were ever separated to meet him here. "This is where I met him. This is where the end of my life began," says Obsidian. Vasilius floats down behind him, reminding his old friend that he does have a name. Obsidian asks how Vasilius found him, and Vasilius explains that Mercury found him, but not to worry, he has been rewarded. Vasilius tells Obsidian that Abigail will be along shortly, and that they only have to wait. Little does he know that Abby has already arrived and is watching as the situation unfolds. Sam and John finally arrive. Sam wonders why she came here. John asks how is he supposed to know? He doesn't even know her name. Momentum quickly arrives and asks the two men where Vasilius is, but the men are not aware just how close by Vasilius really is. Abby turns to shush the trio. Momentum asks who the angry little kid is. Sam responds, telling her, "We actually have no idea." Vasilius and Obsidian begin their standoff as the trio realize why they were shushed. Sam tells the group that it looked like they were about to fight. Obsidian tells Vasilius that for far too long he has allowed Vasilius to drain his daughter and feed her blood to the society for just a little boost of extra power. Vasilius smirks and says with a somber tone, "Very well, my old friend." In the blink of an eye, Vasilius runs his fist through Obsidian's chest, explaining that his resignation is accepted. Abby calls out for her father, her eyes filled with rage. The trio are shocked to hear Abby is Obsidian's daughter. The girl runs toward Vasilius, blinded by anger. Vasilius easily grabs her by the throat and holds her up. "Abigail, you're finally ready to come home then," he says, completely unapologetically. Sam and John jump into action, telling him to pick on someone his own size. He throws Abby to the ground, accepting their challenge. As Abby looks up to see her father laying on the ground in front of her, Vasilius swiftly dispatches John before turning to Sam, who runs in fear, exclaiming that they are way out of their league. Momentum rushes to Vasilius' side, begging him to stop this insanity. He calmly tells her that he can't do that, and knocks her out of his way. The godlike man shouts at his victims.
I have had enough. I will kill you all, and then I will take the girl and lobotomize her myself. That way she won't cause any more trouble.
His eyes begin to glow with a golden blaze. Abby holds her father in her hands as he apologizes and says one last goodbye. As Vasilius marches on her position, tears fall down her face as she turns to face him. Abby tells the man that he will not take anything else from her, and he will live no longer. She raises her hand towards Vasilius. As he questions her, a vortex opens behind him. He struggles to fight it, but he can't escape its pull. He promises that he will return and that he will obliterate everything that Abby cares about before being ripped through the vortex.
How dare you! I am a god!
Abby then falls unconscious as her nose gushes blood. Sam and Momentum question what just happened, but John decides that they have to get to safety as quickly as possible. Somewhere in the vast nothingness of space, Vasilius floats among the stars, blood emerging from a wound on his cheek. His eyes open, and he scowls. To be continued.